People, welcome to the podcast Stop Crying Poser. Greatest podcast known to man, as voted by all the yappers, all the D1 unks, on God, bricked up, gooning unks out there. Bruh. Cringe. Oh, I hope everyone is having a great day today. Welcome to the podcast. We do this podcast every single Friday right around 3:30 p.m. Pacific time. Who do we have in here today? We have Fletcher, Ancient Magic, Cam 702, iBook Boy, Magic Generational Fletcher, Day, Carbs and Curbs, Guys, iBook Boy, Run, stop it! Kickflip knows what we are sad, day, get bake, we are sad, Dingo Dogger, low key, Carbs and Curbs, we are sad, Fletcher, love my toe. Hopefully I didn't leave anyone out on that. Happy to be here. What if you're wondering why my voice is so weird today? It's because I've been sick since Monday. Didn't I just bitch about being sick last podcast? Yes, I only get sick like once a year, sometimes once every 2 years, and now I'm sick twice, 2 times in only 2 weeks. How is that even possible? Well, the theory is, from my friend Ward, is that my immune system didn't have time to build up, and I went straight back to drinking and having fun and hanging out and staying up late and not sleeping enough. And his theory is that I didn't get enough rest and my immune system didn't build up. So he thinks whatever sickness I had before is what I have now. That may be true. I've kind of lost my voice. It's also a sickness that I've experienced before in my life where I'm sick. You know, I feel bad early in the morning. My throat hurts a little bit. My nose is running a little bit. And then once I start my day, everything's great. No problem at all. Go through, ride my skateboard, do my videos that I have to do, and everything's good. And then after I eat dinner, you know, late at night, that's when the symptoms start to come back. So it's only when I get tired. And then the other day, when I went skating, which this was a miracle, by the way, I ended my stream early and I said, hey, I'm too sick to do this stream, you know, because I stream here on Twitch 5 days a week. Even when I'm not doing the podcast, I go to bed early. I can't sleep at all. I sleep for like 4 hours. You know, I get up at 8 a.m. and I say, fuck it. You know, I'm not going to be able to sleep. I have to get my skateboarding done. I go to try to ride my skateboard, and everything ended up going pretty well. Also, later that night, I tried to sleep again, and I was dead ass tired. And the lack of sleep, even though it was only 1 day of no sleep, dude, my mind was like playing some tricks on me, dude. I'm laying in bed and just like thinking the most negative, like depressing ass thoughts. I can't stop thinking about what's gonna happen when my dog dies. Trying to sleep, just like, dude, what the fuck? All this negativity just surrounding me because of my lack of sleep. But that was many days ago. We're all the way better today. I mean, we're not all the way better today. I still don't have a voice, but I don't feel too bad. What else? The sickness. I skipped the sleep. Oh yeah, skateboarding. So, that day that I skipped sleeping, I thought to myself, I'm not going to have any energy to skate, but I have to go out there and get my skateboarding tricks done anyway. So I go, I make a video for Steve Hates Skating where I prove that I can drop in. It was very easy. The internet thinks I can't skate, so when I prove them wrong, it's always kind of a fun activity for me. And it's also great that it's so low effort. But I did this drop in, and I said, that was so easy. I'm surprised I did it so easily, even with no sleep. I bet I could probably go to the skate park and land a couple of tricks. So I did. I went to the park, I landed a nollie flip into a bank, then I landed fakie backside flip into a bank, and then I still was like, dude, what are the odds my body's holding up right now? So I went ahead and I did kick flip, nollie flip, switch flip, and fakie flip, and then I arranged them in a video to where it's like all 4 videos at the same time. Just basically did some flat ground tricks to try to make a fun, like, optical illusion kind of video that I uploaded on my Instagram if you're curious about that. So skating, went really well, surprisingly, because you would think, or at least in the history of me, sometimes I get plenty of sleep, and if my legs or my back is just a little bit sore, then everything's completely over. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second here. Right now, I'd like to show you guys the Yap hat. If you don't know the story of Yap, I'll briefly explain it to you guys right now. I started a new Instagram, Steve Hates Skating. I talk about it all the time. When I first started it, I would upload my ninja reviews where basically I just call out pro skaters who are skating sloppily and lazily. And I shouldn't even say calling them out. Man, my voice is getting fucked. I shouldn't even say I'm calling them out. I'm just observing when professional athletes do tricks that are the same like quality as a random unsponsored 14-year-old. So I say, okay, those tricks could be better. And all the comments for at least a month or two said, this guy just keeps yapping. Unk, all he does is yap. And then I started writing, oh, you guys use the same buzzword. Skating is really creative, man. You guys are really unique. You know, the way you all dress the same, you all suck at skating the same, and you all even use the same buzzwords. You guys talk the same. It's just all of a bunch of you all being the same and then claiming that your sport is unique. So after that, I started writing in my captions for all those videos. I would write, type yap if you think I'm attractive. And I must have fooled at least 1,000 kids. They would say, oh, Unk keeps yapping. And then I write, oh, I see you read the caption. And then, half of them would delete their comment because the worst thing you can do to a 16-year-old kid is imply that they're gay, because then they go, oh, I didn't mean that. You're not attractive. Ew, yuck. And guess what happened to my Instagram? I never saw the word yap again. The story's extra funny because I used to wear hats that said unsub, which was some Karen response that people used to say on YouTube. When they saw a video they didn't like, they would write unsub just to let everyone know that they're leaving. You know what I mean? It's the equivalent of someone saying, I'm never shopping here again. Which, I mean, we're all guilty of that. But to type it in a comment is kind of lame. So I decided, if everyone's going to unsub, I'll just wear that on my hat all the time. Because you guys are all getting really repetitive. That one kind of backfired because oftentimes I'd be at the grocery store wearing an unsub hat and someone would be like, hey, you watch that TV show? And I'm like, what TV show? And they're like, you're the unsub. And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I guess there was some daytime TV show like Law and Order where in every episode they'd be like, he's the unsub. And it means like unidentified suspect. And people would try to explain that to me in public settings multiple times. And I'm like, bro, I don't know what this is. I don't know what TV show this is. I don't know what the unsub is. This is a joke about YouTube. So it is funny that something that I did, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago, I'm now redoing the same thing with a new word, yap, which, by the way, if you want to buy a yap hat or a Skids for the Kids t-shirt, they're available on my YouTube channel. Just scroll under the description and click any piece of merch, because the merch store is really messed up. For some reason, it displays all the t-shirts backwards. I complained about that to my merch store, which is called Teespring, and they were like, yeah, it takes 3 days. It'll fix itself. And I'm just kind of like, what do you mean? You guys run the website. It does not take 3 days. You just don't know how to change this. And then I looked it up on Reddit, and it's a problem that hundreds of thousands of people have had. Teespring has a 1 out of 5 on like the Better Business Bureau. I definitely need to change my merch store. I'll probably switch to one called Fourth Wall whenever I have some free time. So that's in the near future. Back to skating a little bit though. I did this drop-in and I planned on doing it last week. I talked to you guys about that in the most previous podcast. I said I went to the spot. I was excited. I was going to do my drop-in. I showed up to the spot and it was flooded with water. Even though it doesn't rain here, for some reason, this, it is a drainage ditch, but it would take a lot of water to fill that drainage ditch up. So anyways, last week I went there. It was filled with water. I went to another spot. There was other skaters there, and I wanted to skate by myself on this day. So then I went to another spot, and I got lucky. I landed no slide big spin and a firecracker. This last week, a couple days ago, I did the same thing. I showed up to the spot, and it was dry. I landed my trick, and 2 weeks in a row, I've been very lucky because right when I landed my trick, some water started flowing down this drain, and I was like, oh, I got to pick up my backpack, get my camera off the ground. I got to hurry up and get out of here before this flood water comes and, messes up my camera, messes up my shoes and my skateboard. But it was perfect timing because it was right after I landed this first try skateboarding trick that was the easiest thing I've ever done. So as far as skateboarding's been going, dude, I've been getting some really good, not tough breaks. I feel like the world is against me all the time when I skateboard. And for the past 2 weeks in a row, everything has been going really well. So thankful for things being easy sometimes. I'm built to complain. Well, right now, skateboarding, there's not much to complain about, although I am very sore. I feel like even though I'm getting closer and closer to age 40, my skateboarding skills are not depreciating as fast as I thought they would be. So I just got to stay healthy, don't break any bones, don't be doing too much drinking, don't eat too much bacon every day, and hopefully I can keep this going for another few years. So many podcasts I've come on here and I've been depressed about skating, but for once I'm coming on this podcast today saying that things are going well, and I'm kind of hyped about it. Speaking of skating, let's talk about Skater of the Year. I looked at the finalists today. It was who you would expect. I probably won't be able to name them off the top of my head. It was Jamie Foy, Hoban, and Deeds, right? And a couple of others. Let's just say those three for now, right? I'm not sure there's any way in hell that Deeds can win Skater of the Year, considering that he can't really do flip tricks, can't really do handrails. All he can do is drop in and then do roll-on grinds. And also the last video part we had of him was really one-dimensional, and he touched his hands on the ground and dragged his heels on the ground. Just really I'm not saying he's a bad skater. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve to be pro, but to say that he was the best skater of the year is kind of laughable. So I went on the Thrasher page today to cast my vote, which is obviously Jamie Foy. I think he really changed the game with some of the tricks he did, and he also came out with multiple video parts. Everyone skated great. This was a great year for the evolution of skating. I think we can all agree on that. But I think one person pushed it further, and I think that's Jamie Foy. I was reading the comments, and I noticed a lot of people are voting for Deeds. And I have a theory. The theory is that I call it wild optimism. I think that a lot of kids who are skating right now that have been skating for 2 years or 3 years, I think maybe they like the idea that one day they could become Skater of the Year. And maybe this is something they're not consciously thinking. Maybe it's a subconscious thought, like maybe one day I could be Skater of the Year. And I think that's what's motivating them to vote for Deeds. Because if you think you're ever going to get as good as Jamie Foy, you might as well quit skating right now. Because that is a goal that is too lofty and too impossible to ever consider. So I think their brains are tricking these kids into voting for Deeds because anyone can get that good. It would only take about a year or two of practicing roll-on grinds and drop-ins. It's a more achievable goal. So I think that's maybe why kids are voting for that. And they're justifying it by saying things like, I just think he has more style. I just like when skating looks like you're barely able to do it. I like when it's kind of sloppy. It shows that you're human. Okay, yeah, it shows that you're human enough to. It's like, do you want to? I guess no one cares about school these days, but do you want to get 100% on your test, or do you want to barely pass the test? I guess there's a lot of kids out there that would give you the same argument. But this would be a better example to call them stupid. You think if a kid said, yeah, I could have got 100% on that test, but I didn't want to make it look too easy, so I got a 70. You think any adult would believe a kid that said that? Fuck no. You'd look at them and call them stupid. But when people say that about skating, there's less people criticizing them. So they're just like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, totally makes sense that you'd want to be bad at skating on purpose. And it's totally not because you're not capable of getting good. That could never be the actual case. So I think that's my answer to how these kids are justifying it. And that's also my answer as to why this is happening. The guy is fun to watch skate, but did he push the limits of skateboarding this year? No, I don't even think he pushed the limits of himself because he chose the easiest possible tricks to do at all times. And every spot was perfectly catered to him. Also, side thought, where do all these skaters that can only skate one obstacle, where are they finding that one specific obstacle? Right? If I could only do roll-on grinds, how am I going to find a roll-on grind into a handrail? And where am I going to find 15 of those to do in my video part? And then what happens after I do all 15 of those rails? Then there's going to be no more rails left for me to do my one basic only trick that I can do. I get it. I'm kind of exaggerating the story, but that was just my theory as to why anyone would potentially vote for Deeds as Skater of the Year. I think a lot of people agree with me. Oh, there was also Elijah Burrow. I think Elijah Burrow's most recent video part was really one-dimensional. You know, he did, his big ollies, his grinds, and then he rolled down some hills. I think a lot of people that are Elijah Burrow fans are more fans of like his fashion and his name more than his tricks. Because if you took all the tricks that Elijah did and put Brandon Westgate's body on it, all the people that love Elijah would hate that version because they're kind of following him for his fashion and I guess maybe even his uniqueness. So I think that's what's going on. A lot of skateboarding topics today because I even have one more skating topic that I thought maybe would make you guys laugh. You guys know my role as the Instagram Steve Hates Skating is kind of to stir the pot, to cause controversy, to get on people's nerves, to get under people's skin. Not really, but that's sort of a side effect that I embrace happening. So skateboarders are famous, bro. They're famous for saying skateboarding has no rules. Skateboarding has no rules, man. You can't just decide that people are supposed to skate a certain type of way because it's all about the feeling and the extension of their creativity and their personality. Okay, yeah, well then why do you guys all dress the exact same? Anyways, if there's no rules, how do you play a game of skate? You just skate shittily, you do a kickflip, you set the point, and you do the kickflip, and I do a heel flip. What do you say? Well, that's your version of a kickflip. No, you say, hey, you did the wrong trick, you fucking idiot. Or if I do an ollie flip, and the other guy does a fakie flip, I don't go, was that your version of an ollie flip? I go, hey, idiot, wrong foot. And I would, my joke is you could take that even further. If skating has no rules, who decides if you're goofy? Who decides if you're regular? Sounds like a rule has been established. No, that's not the same. That's not the same, Ninja Lifestyle. That's totally different. Is it totally different? Maybe every trick I've done in my entire life was switch. Maybe that 13 stair that I crooked grinded in 2007, maybe today it was a switch crooked grind. Because there's no rules. I don't know if you guys find the humor in that, but I think that style of joke would piss the fuck off out of like a 14-year-old if they're trying to be logical and argue at me about me being like, you're not allowed to criticize skaters unless you're better than them. Oh yeah, well there's no rules. It's different. It's different. Well, there is no rules, right? Yeah, there's no rule. Well, then what's goofy? Maybe I'm regular. Unless the rule is that if your right foot is in the front, that makes you goofy. Is that the rule? Well, yeah, but it says, quit yapping, old man. You dress lame. You'll never skate good. You're fat, and you're bald, and you're skinny, and you're weak, and you're old. Okay, you got me. But I'm also regular stanced. So I switched crooked grind to 13 stair. Ha! Suck my dick. So I thought that was kind of a funny thought. I'm sure we could work that joke. We could workshop that joke and make it a little better. What else happened this week? Well, my favorite liquor store tried to rip me off. And I shouldn't say they tried to rip me off. They've been ripping me off for several weeks, for several months. And you know what? I'm not even going to blame them. Well, I'm going to blame them for one thing, but I'm mostly going to blame myself because I know how to do this thing called counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. So I go to this liquor store about 2 days a week, and please don't judge me. 2 days a week, sometimes 3, depending on if it was a good week. Maybe I got paid this week. Maybe I'm celebrating something fun happening in my life. I go and I get 2 Steel Reserve 211s. And on the window it says 2 Steel Reserve 211s, 2 of them for $3.50. So I always get 2. It's a pretty good deal because if you get them at a 7-Eleven, one of them is $2. No, wait, one of them is like $2.50. So it's usually 2 for $5. So I'm getting a great deal, right? $3.50. I'm saving $1.50. So I go there, I get my 2 Steel Reserves, and I didn't think about it, but for months now, they've been charging me $4.31. And in my mind, I just said to myself, oh, that must just be sales tax. But then the last time I went, I zoomed in with my eyes. I spy with my eye $3.50. I read that it said $3.50, and this particular day, it resonated in my head. So I went and I paid for them, and they said $4.30. And I paid $4.30, and then I walked out, and I started thinking. And I was like, wait a minute. That's way too much tax. $3.50 should only be like, 30 cents tax at the most. It shouldn't be like 80 cents of tax. And you think if I'm doing this, if I'm getting this 3 times a week, I'm throwing money away every single time. So the next time I went in there, which was this week, they told me $4.31. I said, wait a minute, just to double check, I don't want to bother anybody about this, but these are 2 for $3.50, right? And he's like, I don't know, it says $4.31. And I said, well, come with me over to the window. It has a picture of a Steel Reserve. It has the logo. It has the flavor next to it, and it says 2 for $3.50. So then the guy goes, hold on 1 second, I'm going to call the boss. He fake calls the boss, and I said, you know what, dude, I can wait. I don't have anything to do right now. All I'm doing today is playing Quiplash on stream. No big deal. So he goes, well, the boss isn't answering. The phone never rang. And then he goes, you know what, for you, I'll make it $3.50. And I'm just like, what, for me? No, don't do it for me. Do it for that. Do it for what the sticker says on the wall. Do it for the price of the item. You're not doing me a favor by charging me the correct price. I'm not going to thank you for charging me the correct price. I'm simply just bringing it up. And guess what happened with tax? Tax disappeared. I left out a detail. At first, when I said $3.50, he said, oh yeah, that's sales tax. And then I said, no, that's too much tax. And he said, oh, you're right. I left out that detail. So first he tried to kind of lie to me about sales tax. So right now, the way I'm looking at this situation, there's no scam that's happened, right? I still feel like it's no big deal. I still feel like it was an honest mistake, right? You guys following the story right now? I'm an honorable man. I call it how I see it right now. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it was an accident. And he knows that he's been charging me too much for many months right now. He knows that I've overpaid for this many, many times. So we continue our conversation. I say, you know what, dude, I don't mean to be a bother. He goes, yeah, I rung it up. I must have rung it up wrong. Or they must have marked it in the system as the wrong price. And I say, oh, no big deal. Don't even worry about it, man. And I don't want to bother anyone. I kept saying that, like, yeah, I'm not mad or anything. No big deal. I'm not fucking calling y'all out. I'm not going to be a Karen. I'm not going to go on Yelp and complain. So anyways, it's suddenly $3.50. Suddenly, tax doesn't exist at all. Suddenly, there's no tax on earth. I pay $3.50. I give him a $5 bill. Here's where I realized something's going on. He gave me my change in all nickels. Nothing but nickels. Like, you know that motherfucker has quarters in there. You know he has a dollar bill. You're telling me you don't have a single dollar bill? It's a liquor store. Every person that comes here pays in $1 bills. Every person. No one gives you a $20 bill. Like, no one, like, all these $1 items, you're going to tell me that you don't have a single dollar bill to give me my change back, and you don't have a quarter or a dime? He gave me, what, 150 nickels, or what is it? What is it? You do the math. The math is around 30 nickels. I don't know. It was, gave me 30 nickels. And that's when I knew, like, okay, it's serious now. This is what I wanted to avoid the whole time. I wanted to avoid all of this. That's why I kept saying, hey, you know what? No big deal. Like, my bad. I don't want to bother you. I wanted to avoid, like, this becoming an ongoing problem. So now, man, I went in there yesterday. I was a little bit petty. I went in there, and before I got to the window, I was like, hey, do you remember me? Did you guys ever figure out that 350 thing for the 211s? Did you ever figure that out? Because I was just wondering if maybe like if it wasn't me, you'd still be ripping people off. So anyways, I did not pay with the nickels. That's a great idea. Fat Rez just came up with a great idea. I should have paid him in nickels. No, I did not. I just mentioned it on the way in, and then I grabbed it and I paid close attention. He didn't scan it. He manually typed in 350. So here's what's going on. They're still ripping people off. So now there's a part 3 to the story. If anyone comes to my house today or tomorrow, any of my friends come over, I'm going to send them to the liquor store and have them get 2 211s, and we are going to see if it's malicious or if it's not. That is the science experiment, and I can't wait to tell you guys the results next week here on this podcast. What else has been going on? Well, I had a deep thought the other day that was answered for me probably on Twitter or YouTube or something like that. So here in Las Vegas, we have what's called the Arts District. It's like a upscale area with little shops and boutiques and bars. No one's allowed to smoke cigarettes. There's no gambling. Everything is like handmade. There's a bunch of shops that sell like beads, right? A lot of blue hair, a lot of pretentious people walking around, a lot of service animals that are not actually service animals. It's just that kind of neighborhood, right? There's a lot of like banjos and bongos and shit, dreads. It's just a general part of town that I generally don't like to be at. There's one bar there that's super shitty that has $2 beers. I usually hang out in there. Just a really upscale, sort of fancy boutique area. What do they call that area of South Park? It's kind of like that, but it's called the Arts District. And it actually is kind of a beautiful side of town. If you can avoid stepping in, homeless person poop, there's a lot of like cool graffiti on all the walls. And, all the telephone poles have like art on them and shit. Also, all the alleyways have piss and shit and like gang graffiti all over it. Other than that, it is kind of a nice area. So honestly, it's an upscale area, has a lot of foot traffic. So it's not quite the Strip. It's not quite downtown. It's kind of in the middle. And I'm trying to set the scene for you guys as to what kind of place this is. Anyways, it's a very valuable like part of town as far as like if you want to pay rent there. You know what I mean? It's not like having a small booth at the swap meet or the what do you guys call swap meet? That's not the word swap meet. What's the other word for that? Just a building with a bunch of small booths. There's another word for it. I can never think of what it's called. Anyways, it's an upscale area, and there's if you want to pay rent there, dude, you have to be a millionaire. So if you want to flea market, thank you, Day-Day, the flea market. Some of you guys call it flea market. I call it swap meet. If you want to have a business there, you have to be a millionaire. So you would think that all the businesses would have to be like booming, right? And everything would be very expensive. And there are a couple of like really nice art studios where if they sell one piece of art, it sells for like $30,000. And there's another place that sells rocks. It sells like rocks and crystals. And there's a rock there that's worth like $25,000. So maybe some rich person goes in there and pays that building's rent. But then there's also like a record store. There's no way that place makes any money. The rent on that place, $1 million a year. There's no way that place makes even $200 a day. There's no fucking way. Vintage clothing stores, a place that sells used clothing, but they pretend it's something special because it says Star Wars on it. There's no way these places are making money. So I posed that question, and I've been thinking about that all the time. How can these places stay in business? There's no way they're making money. Every bar in Las Vegas has slot machines, and the slot machines pay the rent of the bar. That's why you can go to bars in Las Vegas and get a $3 beer. But if you go to a bar in California, a pitcher might be $20. That's the reason why, is because so many people gamble so often. There's 15 slot machines in every single bar, and each one of these slot machines is making, sometimes thousands of dollars a day. And a lot of that goes to the bar. Some of it gets split with, obviously there's taxes and shit. And some of it gets split with who's ever running the slot machines, like who's repairing them and upkeeping them. Some bars own their machines, some bars rent their machines, and some do like a revenue split. Anyways, slot machines pay for the bars. There are no bars outside of Arts District that don't have slot machines, okay? Grocery stores here have slot machines. The airport has slot machines. Liquor stores, gas stations, all have slot machines. Why? Because that's how these places, some of them are able to pay rent. If you're in the most expensive part of town trying to run a bar, a business, and you have to pay the huge liquor license fees, and you don't have slot machines, your bar can never, ever, ever make money under any circumstance. It's fucking impossible. All the bars at Arts District, wait for it, don't have slot machines. So basically there's an entire part of town that should be millions of dollars in debt. And I thought to myself, and I've thought this for years, how is this possible? And someone cleared it up for me the other day. They said, everyone that owns these buildings has a super mega rich spouse. Someone's husband is the CEO of a giant corporation, and they bought a bar for their wife just to keep their wife busy, so that their wife is not sitting at home or out cheating or being weird or spending all the money or buying sports cars or throwing money away. They basically give their wife like a project that's going to fail no matter what. Just a fun, like a pretend business. And even though it's hemorrhaging, bleeding money, it's losing, $50,000 every single month. For that multimillionaire, it doesn't matter, because now his wife finally shut the fuck up and has something to do. And I walked down Arts District the other day and I looked at every single shop, and I looked at it with that perspective, and everything became clear. And I thought that was kind of funny, man. I wish I could give you guys some numbers. I should have done some research for what rent is for businesses in that area. It's got to be astronomical, man. Anyways, final topic of the day. Oh, wait, before we do that, we have trivia. Would you guys like to win a free Ninja Lifestyle sticker pack sent directly to you? Yes, I would love that. All you have to do is answer this question correctly and be the first one to answer it. Okay, are you ready? Which U.S. state is considered by name, their nickname is the Garden State? Which U.S. state is also called the Garden State? It is both in the mid-Atlantic and northeastern regions of the United States. It is the most densely populated state and at the center of the Northeast what the fuck is that word? Megalopolis? What the hell is the Northeast megalopolis? I have no idea. Anyways, Fletcher says Ohio. Generation says Canada. Day Day says NJ. Turtle says New Hampshire. I am losing my fucking voice. I feel like it's getting worse. If you click the podcast at the beginning and then click it now, I'm fucking dying right now, dude. I feel like I'm that guy Joey Diaz. This is awful. All right. Day Day is the winner, which means I think he's won 3 weeks in a row. Day Day's already getting a sticker pack. So the second winner is Deso. Deso, send me your address in a DM after the podcast, and I will send you your Ninja Lifestyle sticker pack prize. This is the only podcast in the world that gives away free Ninja Lifestyle sticker packs. Now, final topic. Someone asked me on stream earlier this week, what makes you mad? And I thought to myself, what makes me mad? And the first thing that came to mind is when I feel betrayed. If I feel like one of my friends lied to me or somebody scammed me in some way. But does that really make me mad? Because if you think about it, who am I mad at? I try not to be mad at the person that scammed me. I try not to be mad at the person that betrayed me. I typically am mad at myself for falling for it. And I'm extra mad at myself for falling for it if it's happened more than once. Because now it means I'm not learning from my mistakes. And now I'm even more frustrated with who? More frustrated with myself. And I struggled on stream trying to think of something that makes me mad. And I'm sure there are some things. But when you really get down to it, not a lot of things get me just inherently mad. You know, I guess if somebody comes up and punches me or like, you know, like really just gets in my face and calls me a punk bitch, yeah, I guess I'd kind of get mad. But then after I beat your ass, I'm also going to be mad at myself for not having more composure. So even in that situation, I end up being mad at myself. I guess I ask that because I wanted to know your perspective on what makes you mad. When's the last time you were really mad? And were you mad at the right person, or were you kind of like me and you sort of make everything like, you kind of turn it on yourself. Like, oh, I could have avoided this. I saw these red flags. I had all these warnings. I did this. You know, I ignored the foreshadowing, right? The red flags, whatever. So just curious on your guys' perspective on that topic. It is a short topic, and we tried to talk about it earlier this week on the stream. I was going to put some more thought into it, but I can't really come up with anything new other than what I just said. So that's all I got. And that's all I got for the whole podcast. That's all I got for that topic. And podcast is now over. So, give me a hell yeah, people. Appreciate you guys hanging out for this podcast. I think we did a good job considering what I'm working with here. I'm losing my voice, and we still managed to pull it off. We don't quit, goddammit. We keep it going. What? If you missed the beginning of this podcast, the repeat comes out on Podbean, on iTunes, on YouTube. It comes out on every podcast app that you can find. Just type in Stop Crying Poser. Shout out to Cam702, Dietrich, Turtles, Geiges, Dietrich, Fat Riz, Deso, iBook, Day Day, Fat Riz, Loki, love my toe. Love my toe, Generation L, Ron Stop. I appreciate you guys. Anyways, the repeat of this podcast comes out on Sundays. You can check that out. Extra big shout out to iBook Boy, who resubscribed today for 45 months. I appreciate the support. You guys can always send me money if you like what I do here, because money is the best. But if you don't have any money, I don't blame you, because that's just what happens sometimes. But if you want to support the podcast, if you want to support the podcast, you can tell a friend about the podcast. I'm falling apart here at the end. You can tell a friend about the podcast, tell a coworker, tell a family member. And if you have iTunes, go on iTunes and leave me a good review. Leave me 5 stars. I appreciate all of you guys for hanging out. I will continue streaming. But as far as the podcast, that's all I got. So as I always say, people, have a great weekend. Don't drink too much and don't drink too little. Also, make sure to read the prices at the store if you're buying beer or juice or beer or alcohol. Read and do the math. I sound like Batman. Where is she?